robots can be remotely controlled. Imagine putting on a VR headset and you're just first person a robot, but you're literally on Mars.
Robots dating. No, just think about it. You have two people, and let's say the girl is like a little scared.
Yeah, so tell us more about this. Is the AI.
So
demo
okay,
day
let me
for
preface
Tesla.
by saying this. So I have not I've been a huge Elon fan for a long time, but I will say, like, again, context, the PhD I was pursuing before I dropped out was in computer vision, machine learning, self-driving cars, autonomous drones, things like that. So once Tesla had a version of self-driving come out, I was mind blown. I was like, oh, this is awesome. But the more I got to understand the car and I started using it, it was pretty jittery and stuff. And I was like, man, are they really going to get to the point where cars can be completely driverless?
What year was this when you were having this thought?
I mean, from 2016 till till last year.
And to your knowledge, was that the earliest? Like you were
we
learning
got we got the first model. So my PhD started in 2016. Then I dropped out 2.5 years later. Oh, sorry, I started in 2014. I dropped out 2.5 years later.
2.5 years later.
Yeah, well, I settled for the master's. If it weren't for Sarah, I would have dropped out like a year in.
Sarah.
So she was like, hey, just get the master's. I was like, all right, fine, I get it. And then signed up for the Model 3 as soon as I heard this is going to be self-driving. 2018, finally got my hands on the car and got to check out self-driving. And so it was super jittery. It just didn't really work super well. I was like, I mean, it worked good enough, and they were pushing out updates, and it got really good. But it was mainly really good at driving assistance, meaning as long as I'm going straight, maybe change a couple lanes, only on the highway, not back roads, mainly just highway, did a great job. We could drive from Austin to Dallas, no problem. But when it came to back roads and stuff, going from my driveway to the highway and then off the highway back to whatever driveway, I'd have to do manual, right, for the most part. And so I'm like,
what
man,
accounted for that?
Say again?
Why is that? Why did it count for that? Why can't it do back roads just as good as highway?
Because on the highway, technically, there's less variables. There's no one crossing the road. There's no stop signs. There's no stoplights. There's no dogs on the road and stuff like that.
Wasn't it annoying when you had to like put your hand on the wheel? To, like,
yeah, I mean, that's for safety reasons, right? So they want to make sure you're not falling asleep.
And how
I hate
often
safety.
is that?
It's so annoying.
Like every minute. It's not that bad, actually.
You just have to touch it?
Yeah, you just have to touch it. Or you honestly just let your knee touch the steering wheel, let it graze. And so as long as there's some resistance on the steering wheel, it'll keep going.
That's how I know God's a part of me, too. I just need your touch real quick. Okay. Keep going.
What were you saying?
To me, it feels like that would be kind of a nunuisance a little bit.
Yeah,
like you're
but
still mentally engaged in having to.
Not really. It actually becomes very brainless very quickly, as opposed to staring at the road for 3.5 hours, going from Austin to Dallas, and just micro adjustments the entire time. That is way more draining, as opposed to it's not like I'm looking at the road. To be real, I'm probably just doing work on my phone, and it's like ding, I'm like cool, and I'll hit it.
Back then,
it's terrifying.
Yeah, and so what's so crazy is the reason why I want to bring this up is because last week, 2 weeks ago, they came out with this thing called Tesla AI Day, where they were like, hey, we've been working on something crazy for the past 2-ish years called 3D labeling. And so what I'm about to show you here is why I now believe Tesla is finally going to pull off this whole full self-driving, not even just full self-driving, but also Tesla rideshare, meaning in today's world right now, if you want to hail an Uber or a Lyft, you'll have someone pull up in like a Honda Civic, and like the entire time they're bored, so they're trying to have conversations with you. But if you're drained,
Why
and you're
you
trying
say Honda Civic?
whatever it is, because they're
Civic.
efficient. It's mainly Honda Civic.
And you got like crackered crumbs in the back seat.
Yeah,
It affects their rating.
And apple
It affects
juice.
their
sometimes
rating.
you got yak stains in the back seats as well. So
Yak stains.
it's gross, bro.
For sure.
Anyway,
What
so
do I talk about?
anyway, so but imagine you use Tesla rideshare instead. You hail a Model 3. There's no driver in it. It just pulls up, and you get to sit in the driver's seat. You don't have to drive, but at least you're sitting there, and there's no one there bothering you. Like, it's just, I mean,
There
I'm not
seems
trying.
like so
Who
much
gets
of an insurance
paid?
thing.
Who are you paying? Just the
car, man.
Yeah, you pay through the app.
The car's
so
gotta
the
live.
car owner is going to be getting paid. So if Tesla owns the car, Tesla gets paid. If I'm leasing out my Model 3 or renting out my Model 3 for other people to use,
insane.
I get paid 70%. Tesla gets 30%.
So, Renji, if something happens to the car while someone else is in it, how's the
Tesla
liability?
insurance exists today.
To be real,
Yeah.
like Turo already does this.
Was it with Liberty Mutual?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can put your car in Turo, and
But
someone.
that's different.
Why is that different?
Because if you have a if I call Uber, it's a
Oh, true,
self-driving
true.
Uber, and then say we get in an accident or something.
It's the Uber driver's fault, though. In that case,
You just hold
That's the
liability
car.
for it.
so
The car's the Uber
no,
driver.
so I'm saying, so in Tesla's case, Tesla actually said that they're going to be covering all those costs. If anything happens, that's on Tesla.
That's how much they
Man.
trust in the
and,
product.
and- but
They
here, check
better.
this out. They already started Tesla insurance in California. It's been running for the last like 2 years.
Okay.
And so they're gonna actually release that globally to all Tesla drivers.
That's crazy.
And they figured out ways. I mean, because everything is software driven and calculated, they can calculate like perfect insurance rates as opposed to saying, oh, like, how many times have you been in a car wreck? Like, when did you get your driver's license? What was your score on your test?
Right,
like,
right.
they're trying their best to get you a good model, but go ahead.
And the stat, right? Like the stat of the number of accidents that happens per.
Oh yeah. So right now, with just human normal driving, aside from self-driving or AI, it's you have one human death every 90 million miles, just normal driving.
Wow.
With people driving. With
That's-
Teslas right now.
Hey, brother, that's one too many.
One
Yeah,
human
but
death.
check this out. With Tesla, with Tesla's autopilot, it's over half a. What did I just say? Half a billion miles, so 500 million miles every one death. So already Tesla is over 5x safer than a human driver. Go ahead.
And that's already tested. Like,
Oh
they-
yeah, well they're tracking that live every day. Yeah. So
All right, so show us what you're going to show us here.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what blows my mind is as of 2 weeks ago, I've completely let go of all my doubts around is Tesla going to be able to pull off full self-driving for Tesla rideshare, right? Just a Tesla pulling up.
Okay.
Premium Tesla, no driver in it. Now I can go from point A to point B without even owning a car
Because of this.
because of the way that they changed their computer vision architecture. So if you just label the images, you see how it's pixelated and stuff. It
Yes.
actually translates. The bottom is vector space, meaning you could call it the car's brain or the car's memory. And the top row is just images, right? It's just the camera feeds.
Okay.
So right now, in my version of the car, is the bottom left.
It is?
Yeah, it's that. That's what it is. Like that's back roads, and that's how it's able to drive on the highway because there's way less variables. On the highway, it looks a little bit more similar to what's over here, a little bit closer to it because it's just dealing with straight lines. But here, think about it. With these camera images, what this car is trying to do is project it back into its own mental map. And so what ends up happening is based on this type of labeling, this is kind of what you get in your memory. And the car's like, okay, well, I'll try to drive with this freaking data, but this is like confusing as heck. What they ended up doing is shifting over to a 3D labeling system where they're actually labeling the roads in the car's memory instead of labeling in the images like they did before. So previously they would label like every little car right here in this image right here, every little line here on the curbs and stuff. But instead they're like, hey, instead of actually labeling everything in the images, let's actually just label the car's memory, and whatever's in the images, we'll just say that whatever's in this image, that's what created this. So the point is they shifted away from doing 2D image labeling on the actual camera images to 3D labeling in the car's memory instead, and training its neural network based on memory.
So they're building the new version off of the old blueprint, not even like new images.
Exactly. So the images are all coming from the billions of cars, or sorry, the millions of cars on the road,
Right,
the
right, right.
billions of miles that are out there right now. So the point is, as we see like this car performing much better triangulation back to its own memory, like from these camera images, now, I mean, the car can actually navigate down this road because it now can actually see the lines. So my point is, ever since I saw this at Tesla AI Day a couple weeks ago, I was like, all right, now based on
This is
this,
it.
100% they're going to be able to pull off full self-driving. It used to do this thing where if there's a car that comes like right across here and the car goes away, my car will still slam on the brakes even though the car is like on its way out. Instead of just calculating, oh, I mean, by the time that I get there, this car's gonna be out of the way. So what they ended up doing is they started adding path planning to every single object in the environment. So you'll see right here, see the lines in front of all the people right here?
Right.
It's planning the path for
projecting.
every, exactly. It's
Based on the speed that
exactly.
they-
Look,
okay.
it's actually estimating where are all these cars going, where are these people going, and it actually gets it right. Look at this person right here on the right. It's actually getting the curve right. The person's
crazy.
walking. Yeah. It's actually estimating it correctly.
That's pretty wild, though. Like, what if this woman that's walking across the street and it just decides in a full-on sprint,
No facts.
and the
She's like,
Tesla,
"Got him."
She starts
oh,
juking
let's
people
get out
out
of the way, you know?
So this is what's so crazy. Like, so
That's the one in 900 or 9 million.
It would not be able to track Antonio Brown. That's what it
I
is.
know,
Bro,
yeah.
it couldn't track my
Track this
dog,
line,
to
man.
be honest.
yeah.
You know,
I'd be
just-
curious.
You're just
Okay,
all over
but
the place.
this is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and so what's so crazy about this is now that if a person or a car is see this like path that's being planned for this car right here.
Yeah.
Well, now this Tesla knows. Oh, well, by the time I get there, the car's gonna be out of the way, so I don't have to slam on my brakes just because that car is somewhere in front of me.
And this is not programmed. This is learning all in real time.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's not just real time. Like there are millions of cars on the road who are sending data up to their servers. It'll retrain their neural network and send that new neural network down to the cars.
Within how long? Like,
Tesla cars.
Just as soon as they feel, it technically does it automatically, but they do want to send new releases to ensure that the new data that they get is not making the neural network worse.
I see.
at
So it's
driving.
not like every second it's
Exactly.
updating with this.
The new approach that they took, they didn't change the hardware. The new approach that they took is, hey, let's label the car's memory. Let's not label the camera images coming in.
So that was an epiphany that someone had.
It's literally an epiphany. Yeah.
And that's actually what they said on Twitter, or you told me that or something.
What?
Like, why aren't they like expose their blueprint early on, saying don't do 2D imaging?
Yeah, so
was the- was it a tweet or
ultimately,
something?
like now that they figured this out, yeah, GM, Ford, everyone else, they're gonna follow suit and be like, oh, we should have. And it seems like such a basic thing, almost in hindsight, but I mean, at least the computer vision community is like, oh, well, duh.
Yeah.
And just something as simple as that. I'm grossly oversimplifying the whole process, but their data collection is not a trivial thing. It's a lot of time and effort. They legit have like 1,000 people internally hired at Tesla to label all the little things as far as what's a car, what's a dog, what's a fire hydrant, what's a curb, what's a light.
Wow.
All those things.
But once you do that labeling, is it it now recognizes that
object moving forward. Correct.
and then now we'll build the data set off of that object.
Exactly. So as it sees more and more examples of something that seemed like I'm 88% confident this is a fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it'll then take that and be like, all right, let's just assume it's 100% a fire hydrant. That's now part of my data set.
Dang.
And so even though its confidence on new images was like, oh, that was only 88%, there's only 96%, whatever, it's going to be like, all right, well, those are all going to be 100%. I know those are
Right.
fire hydrants. And you start training on new data you've never seen before.
Right, over
and then you
time.
start building cars that can drive on roads that it's never seen before.
Someone told me that one time that when you're on like a website and you do the catch alpha thing and you like click it and say I am not a robot, and then it throws up images like click like the street lights or click like the fire hydrant.
was training Google's
You're
thing.
training Google's thing. Is that what's happening?
I think so. Yeah, CAPTCHA. Yeah.
I am not a robot, but I'm training.
But
a
I'm
robot.
letting you know you can have me anytime.
We're the products.
All right,
Dude, that's
so
pretty wild.
the reason why this is so crazy is they're now saying we're going to take that AI and now put it in the Tesla bot.
This penguin.
This is the Tesla bot.
This
The
is like
top-
Slender
Tesla
Man.
Penguin.
It
Yeah,
is,
top
yeah.
speed 5 miles per hour, so it cannot chase you. 5'8", 125 pounds. It can deadlift 150, get your weight up.
So it can
It
get
de-
Are you
yeah, the
serious?
So once
deadlift?
it gets you, it got you.
Yeah, once it gets you, it got you.
It can't deadlift. Most people. I mean,
I mean, have you seen me?
What's it gonna do? What's it gonna do? Power clean you? Like
Yeah.
I look like this thing.
Aaron's in trouble. That's it.
Once this thing gets me,
Did
I'm
they-
done.
Yeah,
Did
you're
they-
9 inches taller.
they create a prototype of Aaron?
All right, so why is this important? This is going to be the same brain that's inside the Tesla car they're
Yep.
putting inside a Tesla bot.
Exactly. So their hope is, so obviously this is the motors and stuff. The actual Tesla AI machine is right in the chest of this thing. So I mean, if you want to stop one of these things,
heavy.
just light up its chest, not the head. There's nothing in the head. It's just a display.
Yeah.
That's
Aimed
gonna
at
be
the head.
that's
We
gonna be a
about
common
to-
misconception.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be really
It's got a
common.
brain. So why give it a face, I wonder? If
I mean, put a smile
because
on
they're
it.
evil.
Yeah.
It does make it more ominous. I'm not
It
gonna lie.
does. It has no eyes.
But if it did
Eyes
have
are the
a
window
face,
to the soul.
if it did have a face, it would be like, okay,
That's
It'd
worse.
be creepy.
But this
It
is why
might
I put
be
a head is, I
worse.
guess what I'm saying.
This looks straight out of Black Mirror. Bro.
Yeah. Well, so check it out.
iRobot.
The full self-driving computer is right in the chest, and autopilot cameras are in the face. So I mean,
so you need the head.
They're legit. They said that they want to use this thing.
So
for,
I will shoot in the head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So it can't see
So
anymore.
can't see. Yeah, you blinded me.
It's picking up nothing.
So Randy, what are the uses?
So they're talking about how they want this thing to be used for doing menial and dangerous tasks. So the menial tasks would be like, go shopping for me. The dangerous tasks would be like, hey, build a Mars base.
I said gluten free.
Imagine you're in the produce.
Dangerous.
You're in the produce aisle. You just see a robot. Excuse me.
Yo.
Oh my god.
Okay, so go
Yo.
shopping for you.
Yeah, I think the more mind-blowing use cases are going to be like, once we actually want to get to Mars, you don't want to send humans at first, because what if they die? But you can send something like this, right? And what's so crazy about this, because computers, like robots, can be remotely controlled, imagine putting on a VR headset and having your controls or your hands or whatever, and you're just essentially embodying a robot who's sending its eyeball camera feeds to your headset, and you're just first person a robot, but you're literally on Mars.
So you know how like
That's so.
when like moon communication, I don't know what the duration is, but like let's say they say a sentence on moon and it takes like 8 seconds to get back to you. Well, I wonder how like the one-on-one would be.
It's 8 minutes on Mars. 8 minutes to get communication from Mars to here. So obviously there's going to have to be innovation in communication between Mars and the Earth.
8 minutes.
I mean, as of right now. But as far as communication for like using quantum stuff. That's a whole other conversation.
Oh, I'd love for you to get into it.
That's a whole
The way
other.
you explain it though is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Quantum stuff.
Why don't they just create like a trail of like satellites or connection points?
Hardline
Because think about how the
Cat5
Earth,
cables.
Yeah.
the Earth and Mars rotate at different rates around the.
Why don't they just have a long Ethernet cable, man?
That could work.
Plug into the ground.
What was the thing you were talking about that other day, Prince Will?
Robots dating. No, just think about it. Just think about it. Robots are like you have two people, and let's say the girl is like a little scared, or the guy is scared, doesn't really feel safe.
Oh,
if someone,
what?
it's,
Yeah.
No,
it
no,
just
wait,
came
go
to
with
me.
this.
No,
Yes.
it came to
Let's
me.
hear this.
You have two robots, right? And then if say like a girl is like a little iffy about this guy.
She'll send her robot.
Yeah, she can send her robot.
So you do robot dating first,
No,
just
no,
as a
see,
trial.
See if there's chemistry between the robots.
No. But you're controlling the robot. I mean,
No. Keep going. You're in now.
Nothing about to happen. It's just like this conversation, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, and you're just feeling it out, and then later you can choose to meet in person. When both people feel safe enough
Yeah.
to meet in person.
Yeah.
Both
You don't have
people
to
feel safe
expound the
enough.
emotional energy.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
No, you still have
use
to have
the
to.
emotional energy because you're still invested.
So it's basically like texting. Just now, my robot's doing it for me.
exactly.
No, but you're embodying your robot.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
you're
here's the
in
thing.
Would you
VR.
like more water?
What is the robot camera feed going to see? It's going to see another robot.
Yeah.
Good chemistry there.
But maybe if your eyes lock, you see
Well,
the
we do-
windows to the soul.
Yo, I love what you said too. If you don't feel safe enough, Mina, it's like, yo, you shouldn't be dating. Two people are scared of each other.
Straight up.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna send my Tesla robot instead.
So this is what's so crazy. So I mean, we were watching this thing earlier today. This person right here, they thought that they were a person, but they look down. So they're essentially in VR. They look down. This is where it kind of gets crazy. And right here, they actually realize, oh wow, I'm actually a robot. But I mean, they're embodying a robot, right? And so what's so crazy is, I mean, this is horrible. This is where it gets super dark. Sorry, everyone who's watching.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, viewer discretion advised. Turns out this person who thought they were playing a VR video game was actually embodying a robot
And they didn't
somewhere
know.
else in a real place and killed the person. Imagine that.
Wild. That's wild. That's the iRobot
yeah,
stuff.
that's where it gets a little bit like, I mean, I think even Elon Musk talks about this a little bit. Is like when we start using AI against each other.
Yeah.
Like that's where it's going to get a little bit crazy because
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, think about it. When you're fighting a war fully with drones rather than human beings, it's like, what's the purpose of that?
We're already doing it. Truthfully.
But there's still people.
I
like,
mean-
on the battlefield.
Yeah, but it's become more I mean, we were talking about this with the documentary. It's become more technologically advanced to where using drones for, airstrikes or XYZ and for the hopes of saving more lives, but you're still killing people.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's an ethical conversation that definitely has to be had about
There's a
of
lot
this.
around this.
Scary.
I don't
Yeah.
think this will ever. I mean, look, this is what people always
Don't-
say.
don't-
Like,
never-
this'll
never say
happen
never.
type thing.
Yeah.
But like Hollywood or whomever made this, like their job is to try to make things to the nth degree. That's what like Black Mirror does. Like
Yeah.
taking a good concept and then saying, well, this is what it could become. Well, of course it could become something like this, but like people are still in charge of making this stuff. Now I'm not literate enough to know how AI works. That like that's what Skynet is, right? And that's it. Kind of just like
Yeah.
learns to become more powerful. But like, if we become scared of this and so we avoid going down that path, I don't think that's the right decision.
Yeah,
to make,
no, I agree.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's
like
interesting.
this is fun to talk about, but this is I don't think we'd be like, wow, so that's why we shouldn't pursue more AI.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Well,
Yeah.
so Elon says a different thing. So he basically says that once you let the genie out the bottle, it's essentially once you teach like a robot how to do something like take a life, or you teach them how to do that better, or teach them like they get to a point where they're actually like learning and like these neural networks that they're learning and getting better at doing this. You've opened the genie's bottle, and now there's not really any going back at that point.
Yeah. Once it becomes
Elon Musk doesn't know
self-aware.
that much though. What does he know, man?
I mean, he's only like helping us like progress significantly.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at history, any good tool that someone makes will usually get used for evil in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
You're not going to hold, I don't know, Bill Gates did not create the internet, actually. I
No, he
believe.
didn't, no.
He didn't. But whoever created the internet, you can't really blame him for the inhumane things that are also on the internet.
right.
Because he made a tool, and then humans,
Right.
kind of perverted it in a way.
Yeah.
You can take that as far as you want with even our own bodies. God made a tool. Humans perverted it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the internet
Yeah.
started with like military uses in like the 60s and 70s, and then eventually Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, whoever started building computers that could actually connect to each other. And then in the 90s, AOL and everything else started coming into being, and so all these computers that eventually initially could just connect via this weird like command line interface now became more user friendly with AOL, so you could have a browser, have chat,
Yep.
whatever. At that point, that's where the internet started really booming. But now you have all this other junk that's on the internet as well. Even though it could have been a really, or was intended for a very, very good use, people can, no matter what, ultimately use it for whatever. Likewise with the metaverse, or connecting VR to robots and then like using it for war.
Right.
Maybe the initial intent for a Tesla bot was, hey, let's send these Tesla bots to Mars and build a moon base for us, and we can remotely control them so that no one dies. But then eventually get to the point where it's like, oh, these things
Oh,
become
this thing
self-aware.
shot me. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
if that becomes, I don't know if the Tesla bot's going to become a consumer product,
Yeah, the initial
yeah.
intent is for it to become a consumer
like
product.
you said, doing shopping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know, did they give a timeline on that
They did not.
or a price?
I think it was mainly for a. They didn't give a price either. It was mainly for hiring. Yeah, it was mainly for hiring. They were saying that like, hey, we want to hire more AI people, and
real
so
smart.
because this is our goal, we can just take the
Really
full self-driving computer, put it in the robot, and you guys can work on this type of stuff
Wow.
too.
Whenever it becomes public, would you get one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I would get one.
Not a question.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Yeah, I would get
Yeah.
one for sure.
Are you going to be the first one to get it? Like
I mean,
when
I
it
would-
releases?
I would-
I'd be one of the first two.
Or you
Yeah.
would-
First
You're going
adopter.
to let that
Pre-order?
thing in your house? You're going to let that thing in your house?
I'll put it in the
Just gonna
garage.
stand
It'll
there.
live in the garage.
Oh yeah, it won't know how to
In the
get
dog-
out.
get in the
It
dog
won't know
cage.
how to get
Until
in.
until it wants
No.
until it
The
wants to
door
come
is-
inside.
Yeah, you put it in the garage when you go to sleep, and you wake up and it's like right outside your door.
Oh my
your bedroom door.
God.
It's knocking, bro. Good morning,
What are you going to
Renji.
look at? My eyes?
I'm here.
I have no eyes.
I'm here to serve you.
Oh my God.
All right, well that's cool. So you'll be getting it then. So if you guys stay tuned on this podcast, whenever they get released, we'll have a chance to bring in the Tesla bot and show you.
Yeah, and Tesla about to be a
And
guest
only,
on the show.
oh yeah, only. What do you think? And I'll be controlling it with VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially, so here's the thing. I feel like AI is a little bit different
Yeah.
in regards, because with neural networks, when you actually are teaching a machine to like learn new things, right? If it gets to a point where it's able to like significantly increase the speed at which it learns something, that's where I think it's a little bit different than the, like the internet or
Exactly.
like, other technology that we've created in the past.
Jeff Bezos gave a really good analogy. He said, if you think about human brains, it's very data efficient, meaning as a 16-year-old driver, I just need to drive maybe like 2 or 3 times, and I kind of know how to drive. I know how to use this thing. Whereas for a self-driving car, it takes billions of miles of training data to understand how to drive.
Wow.
So the human brain is just on a next level of wetware that doesn't exist in the hardware software world.
So
Wow.
that kind of poses a question for you, Renji, because I remember when you were driving in your car, and I was freaking out a little because this guy literally just randomly takes his hands off the wheels,
Right.
And so
Responding to
he's
emails.
he's responding to emails on his phone, and I look up. I'm like, well, this is it for me. Yeah. I'm like, well, this is how I'm
Give me a chance
going
to
out.
say goodbye.
Then I gotta call somebody. But and you said that you believe your car is a better driver than you.
Yeah.
Genuinely
in,
believe
in,
that.
in certain contexts. Yeah.
Like,
So
actually?
back roads, no, because it's not enabled to be able to take left and right turns on its own. But on the highway, yes, it is a better driver than me.
You
'Cause-
trust it 100%?
Currently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not enough to sleep behind the wheel because no matter what, there might be random things on the road. But when it comes to being able to have 250 meters of vision in all directions, I don't have that. My car does.
True.
Right? There have been multiple times where it's actually detected a car wreck 2 seconds, like maybe a second and a half before it happened, and I didn't even notice. Like I was actually paying attention, and it was just going beep beep beep, and I'm like, why is this thing beeping? All of a sudden, I see a car wreck, and then it like gets me out of the way. I'm like, that's insane.
Wow.
Because it notices, hey, there's some weird behavior happening 3 cars ahead. I'm not paying attention to 3 cars ahead.
Sure.
So just the fact, or even in the next lane, 3 cars ahead, I'm not noticing that, but the car is, and it's doing it at all times without being distracted.
So what's going to get you, at what point will you start to like fall asleep behind the
Well,
wheel?
legally, apparently, we can only fall asleep behind the wheel at 10x safer than human drivers. So once the thing hits 1 death every billion miles, then that's when legally we'd be allowed
So it's
to.
another 500 million?
Another 500 million. Yeah.
Which, I mean, Teslas are on the road every single day.
Yep.
So it'll be like next month.
And that's another thing. Full self-driving, it also depends on local governments allowing of it.
Yeah, that's gonna be
So
interesting.
there's some regulatory things.
That's
gonna be interesting.
that's my main like,
Regulation.
thought is just regulation. No, because anytime people try to have fun, the government's gonna find a way to.
Yeah. Well, think about it though. Like, was it like Phoenix,
Ooh,
Arizona?
social commentary.
Well,
How do you feel about marijuana?
but Waymo. I mean, so Lyft had, or sorry, Uber had self-driving cars in Pittsburgh. I think Waymo had it in Arizona.
I've seen it.
And then there's
in San
different, San Francisco, Florida. There's a lot of different places where the government's been very forward thinking, and they're legit cars that don't have any drivers. Like Waymo specifically have cars on the road because they have HD maps and whatever. And that was another crazy thing about Tesla's thing. They can now actually have all their cars scan HD maps all around the world, and cars will use other cars' memory.
That's crazy.
So that wasn't a thing before. Before it was like, hey, just based on my neural network, I know how to navigate new environments I've never been to before. But technically, now all the cars can create HD maps together on the roads.
That's
with this
sick.
new approach.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Flying cars. I just wanted to take it even further.
What if the
what do we
the
not-
flying cars could date each other, and then we send the flying cars instead of
We put our robots in the flying cars, and
Right.
they go places for
to
us.
the moon, and that's a,
I'm actually in Nigeria right now, but I'm in Austin.
Yeah.
I can see. Look, actually, I just actually want to talk about it. Is is that even a realistic thing? Is that safe?
I don't know if we're
that
calling
one?
it cars though. Flying
Flying
cars. I think it's more of like a flying miniature
Vehicle.
aircraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because so Elon Musk says specifically that he'd rather, instead of having cars that go higher and higher and higher, that if anything goes wrong, you're just falling out of the sky and you're dead. There's no safety, whatever.
platform?
No, instead actually tunneling under the ground.
Wow.
The boring tunnel. You want to pull that up, Josh? Pull up boring tunnel stuff. Ultimately, he was saying, I mean, no matter how much we dig, I mean, we're not going to be able to get to the point like, oh, what if we hit the Earth's core? It's like, okay, all right, well, we're not going to get anywhere near close there.
Right.
Like, the Earth is way bigger than we think.
Right.
But he was saying, quote unquote, virtually, you can go, hundreds of levels deep. Look at. There's a picture of. It'll show a network under the city. Type in boring tunnel network.
see, this would only work though if you don't have a car that has like
Scroll
gas
down.
coming out. You can't breathe under that.
no,
You roll down the window, you're
filtration.
dead.
Yeah, filtration. Yeah, look at that. So on the right side, you'll see there's like a network of essentially highways and tunnels all throughout under the
That
city.
is wild.
That's what
Imagine
he should
back
be for.
up in that.
I would get anxiety, like
Why?
claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia. Well, I mean, imagine though if your car's windshields started kind of closing off and like now you're on your computer.
Renji,
No, please.
That's too
don't
much.
Do that to me. Yeah, don't do that.
But that's
Yeah.
awesome. I guess
Yeah,
it does
it's dope.
solve that. It does solve that.
Are they still doing this?
wonder how fast
Like,
you
is
can
this?
go.
Yeah, they're still working on
They're
this.
still working
yeah.
on this.
Who approved that? L.A.
They have a tunnel under
They
Las
do.
Vegas and
Wow.
I think it's
somewhere
LA.
else.
I think LA has one too.
LA has one and Las Vegas. I think I see right now.
Crazy.
So this is instead of flying cars,
Instead of flying cars, it's tunneling cars,
diving cars.
diving cars.
And then there's Hyperloop too.
Yeah. They would essentially have so these are like 12 feet in diameter, these tunnels. Then the Hyperloop ones are a little bit bigger. I think it's like 20, 24.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah. But Hyperloop are essentially trains that are going 700 miles per hour because there's no wind resistance.
Right. It's in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So the whole tube, like I know they're talking about DC to New York, but all the way from DC to New York would be like a vacuum.
A vacuum.
That's
Mhm.
insane.
But I mean, it's
Do
just
that.
like periodically all throughout the way they have these little pumps that just pump air
that
out.
just seems so expensive.
They found out that like tunneling in general has already been crazy inefficient, and just with the number of efficiencies, this stuff will essentially be even cheaper than historic tunnels. So
Crazy.
yeah,
Well, last question. This is just specifically for you because I know that you had your PhD in this. Like
I don't have a PhD. Smasher.
you dropped out of your
Dropped out.
PhD in this.
They don't count.
Are you like, man, I'd like to get back into this, or man, I wish I didn't drop out of that. or-
Someday. I mean, for the PhD stuff specifically, it was just slow. Maybe if I went to a different program, it would have been faster, or not faster, like more engaging, more ambitious people. Nothing against the program that I went through, but it just, people who want to just tinker with drones and stuff, and like that was about it. Add one leaf to the tree of knowledge.
Right.
But for me, I want to change the world, so that takes a lot of resources, and people like
Yeah.
Elon Musk have the resources and the brains and the people around him to help. So, if Immerse exits someday,
So you'll eventually get back into that, you think?
maybe. I don't know.
Rockets is your big thing, though.
It's fun.
You want to build a rocket.
Maybe. I don't know.
You want to build.
I wonder if I want to do it, or it's like, oh, Elon did it. Looks really, really cool.
You do want to build a rocket.
This is what I want to do. After Immerse exits, there's a lot of things I want to explore. Things like, I want to see if I could try to learn the piano. I'm going to see if I could try to learn rocket science. I
Fix
want to
your
get back
jump
to
shot.
yeah. What'd you say? He said, fix my jump shot.
Oh my god.
Man,
wait,
I had
wait,
more buckets than
boy.
you
we don't
last
have enough
though.
time, man.
no
in
way,
the
bro.
world.
Develop the perfect jump shot.
Yeah, just have a robot to do it for me, bro. I'll just do it in VR.
You got a lot of plans, though. As soon as Immerse exits.
Well, I'm going to do a little bit of dabbling in each thing and see what do I like the most.
Yeah. No, good for you, man.
Yeah. So what do y'all think about AI replacing people's jobs? What are y'all's opinions on that? And then I'll share my feedback at the end.
Dang.
I don't know if I know enough about it. I remember hearing Gary Vee say something like when it comes to the advancement of technology, that's like, it'll just create, yes, it will replace some jobs, but it's usually like the mundane and the dangerous ones. and then new jobs will be created because of that. Like people will just innovate and find ways to still stay relevant. I don't think it's just going to put people out in the streets.
Like a Twitch streamer that didn't exist 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, or anything involving like technology, like just even graphic design. Like that's now become a very household thing, and so now everybody has a chance to do something like that. And so what'll be harder though is that more people will be doing similar things, in my understanding, which means it becomes noisier and more people contributing towards things that, like the tunnel becomes narrower to get seen, and that'll be the harder part, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it should worry me or us that I can be replaced by something. I'll just find.
I mean,
I know.
Is that wrong to think, or is that too like?
No, I think it's like there's the fear that I think people will have in regards to, hey, this is going to replace me. But like you said, I think that there's so many more opportunities that now open up because like innovation and technology is now filling a gap and creating more opportunities to do different things. So I honestly think that it's like we wouldn't have had the internet, right, if we weren't able to create the technology to kind of fill that gap, right? And the internet has now opened up so much other things as well. So it's like I think that the fear of that being replaced, like so many more opportunities now open up because of something like a robot taking.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think the two are going to exist in the same world, where I do think people will be put out on the streets, actually, because, you're talking about these, the mundane or the dangerous jobs. Some people, that's the only job they have. That's the only skill sets they have. Even in finance, right? I know jobs that will be, like I hear it almost every day. Hey, we're working on these new advancements, the organization of the future. We're trying to integrate robotics or artificial intelligence in these processes, and people talk about it all the time. So I think some people will lose jobs, but it'll also force people to become specialized in other things. Kind of like what you were saying, Josh, that people can actually learn new skills because AI exists, kind of like the internet. You have all these new, influencers and whatnot.
Right.
So I think they'll both exist.
There's also like even thinking about how there were people back in the day before there were light posts in the street driven by electricity back in the day where people would like go and have a job to actually go light all the candles or all the light posts, right? Electricity came in, grid systems in cities, and those people were out of a job. But that freed them up to go maybe become I don't know, like, what do you call a person who's riding a horse? Equestrian, or like a person pulling a wagon?
Jockey.
I don't know, whatever. A person who maybe was riding horses that pulled wagons, but then the car came. It's like, oh, maybe they became a cab driver. Like my point is, there are different ways that technology augments our world, but it really just frees people up to go learn new things and do more creative things. So when it comes to even things like, I don't know, like it wouldn't, not just Twitch streamers, but even like even taxi cab drivers, that actually didn't exist in the early days when there was a car. Yeah, that became more of a thing. Right. Maybe in the 30s, 20s, 30s. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's like with like new technology coming out. I think about like Airbnb, like. People in the hotel industry might think, okay, my job's going to get replaced, but it also opens up the opportunity for that person to now rent their home out, right, or rent a room out,
and or rent their hotel out.
Or rent their hotel. They can create a hotel. They can create a hotel of their own.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, like they can become like I feel like technology now is allowing people to become like business owners themselves. And create a side revenue or like a side income or something that might actually end up becoming your main thing. Right, like Uber. Like all of that stuff. Anybody can literally download the Uber app and go become an Uber driver.
I guess it's true that I was thinking that through too. Like even at grocery stores, it's already happening where you just have the self checkout because that's a robot that's replaced somebody's job. So it's already.
Or you order your groceries on your phone, they get it for a human being does that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, but if you get Tesla bot to do that, you know what I mean? Though, so I guess. You're right. There is something, I guess, a conversation to be had about it. I'm just not involved enough in like the world to see where that happens.
Yeah.
The finance thing. When I think of this question, I'm thinking of like, when will that robot replace a human to do the same task, like vacuuming or something like that?
I mean, factories.
But it could be more so like the software that does things. And I don't always think of that kind of stuff of like a faster way to do something. And it's like, well, I don't need to click anymore. So my job has been replaced, or at least that task has been replaced.
Yeah, but it's not usually people who are like, oh, like these are the only skills I ever had, and so now I'm out of a job. It's gonna be replacing people's jobs who ultimately don't want to learn new skills, and that's the hard part. It's kind of like,
the thing.
As long as dude, I know we have a slot machine salesman on our team who used to be a slot machine salesman, and now is a coder on our team. I mean, he could have been like, hey, all I ever learned was sales, but
have to evolve.
Exactly, and I think it's good to encourage humans to evolve. So
I wonder if it's an education thing then too. I mean, that's a bigger conversation, but like, dang, people got to be educated to know how to code.
yeah,
or
but he
whatever.
learned that at a coding
You have,
boot
to,
camp.
you have to do it yourself sometimes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm gonna stretch it again. Sorry, y'all. But even if you look at how businesses are gonna be in the future, I think it was Matt Schrader was talking about it. He was saying that a lot of businesses will have to care more about the human more in the future. So you know how businesses works. They can say it's not about numbers. Most times it's actually about numbers. So if you have to worry less and manage less human beings, you're just going to pump your business with a lot of robots so you can spread yourself less thin when it comes to actually caring for your employees. So I can see people even going that far to say, you know, we only have so much emotional capital in this business. So let's cut it down, you know, do some headcount shifts and we'll be okay, right?
This is where it could get really, really crazy. So only in the past few years has there ever been a $1 trillion company, because technology has advanced people's resources to be able to scale in a way that it's never had been able to do before. Before that, software did that, like Facebook back in 2004, for example, right? Like when that first started, it was just like, wow, we actually have like worldwide reach, whereas a decade before that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so now think about the evolution of where we are today, where there's like 3 or 4 multi-trillion-dollar companies. Eventually, if it gets to the point where, okay, now I have, instead of hiring a bunch of coders, now I have robots that are coding for me. What if everyone had their own Google? What if it's like you became a trillionaire because of, not just you, but now everyone in this room became a trillionaire because they just had robots doing stuff for them.
Inflation would be crazy.
Yeah, like think about the evolution, right? Like if as the limit approaches infinity, right? We go from 1 trillionaire to now 4 trillionaires to like now 100 trillionaires. Imagine that. Isn't that a crazy world?
It's so weird to think about, though. I don't know, like, what the timeline of that is. It's so hard to predict.
Well, even
Is that 10 years?
But even think about,
it seems way too soon.
But think about, okay, let's go back to let's downscale a little bit. Like the number of millionaires that existed about 100 years ago, way less than there is today.
Yeah.
And the number of billionaires is like 100x. Just
But what does
in the
that say
past.
about inflation? Like, because that's like the inflation topic of it.
But that's making the assumption. That's making the assumption that like that this world is a zero-sum game. In order for me to win, you must lose.
Yeah.
That's not how our world works.
This man just wants to talk about Bitcoin right now.
Go
He's itching right now.
That being
is
said,
weird.
like
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be a zero-sum game. If you go online and look up Naval Ravikant, he's the founder of AngelList,
Yeah.
and he talks about how our world does not have to be a zero-sum game, right? Like there can be, like, think about how, okay, think about even just in the U.S., for example, right? Like if we think about just the U.S., like the average income or the average household income is a lot higher than maybe another developing country. And you look at that, just that developing country, it could also be relative. But at the end of the day, it's like there's a reason why there's a lot of people in the U.S. who are winning, if winning means having a higher income, right?
Yeah.
So now you do that at scale around the entire world. There doesn't have to be in order for me to have wealth or be able to like afford whatever things, you have to lose. That's not how this works.
No,
Maybe
no,
the
no.
stock market's like that a little bit,
Yeah.
but the stock market is not the only market out there. What if you're creating companies that are actually creating value? And that's what he's saying. If everyone has a business that's creating value, then at the end of the day, people will only give us dollars for Immerse, for example, if they're getting value out of our product. If our product is not valuable, we're not going to get dollars. And so we are incentivized to create value. And imagine if everyone did that.
Right.
At that point, it's not a zero-sum game. It's just there's an abundance from everyone. He has a Google. You have an Apple. You have a Facebook company. Imagine if there were 7 billion trillionaires on this planet. That's insane to think about.
Yeah.
And apparently that's possible.
But wouldn't that make? I know I get what you're saying about zero sum.
You're saying people would up their prices?
Everybody can win,
Yeah.
right? But also, that would make, there's more value. There's more supply of something. It would decrease.
But
its
if people up
value.
their prices, for example, in order to try to get other people's money to like pay more for stuff, then others can just decrease their prices and essentially like win them out because they are cheaper, right? So at the end of the
It
day,
still always goes up though.
Yeah.
It
What always goes up?
It trends up though, meaning like
what is it?
like homes back in the 60s.
the
were,
cost of assets, you talking about?
yeah. It was like $80,000 versus today.
Yeah.
The average home is probably like $400,000.
But that's assuming there's no value creation or innovation, such as homes in the metaverse. Hey, now we're living in the stacks. I don't care what your house costs because I have my home in heaven.
Heaven.
They ain't no price on
Stacks.
that one.
Heaven
Yeah.
stacks. Dang. I'm every time we have a conversation like this, I'm always thinking, man, you know what? I'm just gonna go learn how to farm or something. Like, man, this is a little much, man. Because that'll be the currency, in my opinion. You can have your trillions of dollars. I'm gonna
Yeah.
create some apples.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have an orchard.
Grow some
'Cause
Organic.
That to me is what's gonna be. I know that's like I don't know, man. That's why it's hard to think about. I don't want to be thinking like end game type stuff or like post-apocalyptic thing when that's like 300, 400 years away. I don't want to be thinking that way, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what this type of
Yo,
conversation
we're gonna have
makes me
astronaut
think.
food by then, bro. Innovation.
Man, G's gonna come back by then.
I don't want mashed potatoes in a bag.
But Aaron, what you're saying is we were talking about this. We touched on it lightly at your house about the because I was looking at this player card, a rookie card for an NBA player, and I was thinking, it's like, you know, eventually this world is going to become so advanced that the simple things are going to grow in value. You're like, wow, you have a normal laptop, right? They don't even sell those anymore.
You have an IKEA desk.
You have an Apple. Wow.
You have an Apple, not the
no,
computer. You have an
literally.
Apple.
No, literally. You have a
Bro,
wooden
take a
pencil.
bite out of it for me.
No, you have a wooden pencil from 2021.
Yeah.
Yo, what do you call it? Ticonderoga?
Tigger
What?
Ticonderoga.
It's a
Ticonderoga?
Nixon, Nixon pencil, number 2
Yeah.
pencil. Anywho, I'm just saying the vintage things are probably.
But
Appreciate it later.
here's a question though.
wants
I want to
this?
meet these people that are spending that much money on like, yo, you have a Sega Dreamcast? I will give you $5 million for that.
Right.
That's
You-
what
collectors.
Because of the value.
Yeah.
The collectors, the people who like to.
But how
the same,
frequent
the
is
same
that?
type of people who are gonna buy that Porsche.
But here's a question. Here's a question.
Run it.
Here's a question. Between you guys, like for yourself, think about yourself, right? What would you spend an outlandish amount of money just to get an old version of something? Name that thing.
Man, I would pay an arm and a
treasures out
leg
here.
for Dragon Ball Z original sketches.
So from
Seriously.
what?
From Akira
From my
Toriyama.
childhood, you want my sketches?
What? No, I'm talking
Reggie
from
draws.
Akira.
He's like, look at this tattoo.
From
Look at this
from Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z. I would pay a lot of money just to have.
If that was
framed.
sitting right here and I said this cost you $10,000, you would fork over $10,000.
I mean, not right now.
Yeah, that's
know,
what I thought.
you know, the
I'm
way
talking
to-
about the prioritization of it, right?
I don't
So-
think that it would ever happen for me, but I think I'm outlandish. I would want to do an experience. Like that's what
Okay.
I put my money towards. Like
Okay.
on a Friday night, I don't go out and always like, let me go. Like I like to do like escape rooms and things that are like active and fun. Like I get to experience something. Even back when with like Chuck E. Cheese's, I never like used my tickets to buy like an item, like a bouncy ball or something. I'd always buy like, you know, something that I would enjoy
Like
or
food?
whatever.
Candy?
Or I wouldn't even play games that win tickets. I'd play games that were like really fun to do in the moment. And then once the moment was done, okay, I got to go pay more, right? So I don't
Yo,
care
I
about
saved
material.
up tickets, bro. I went there. I was getting tickets.
They're the collectors.
No, that
They're the
doesn't matter.
collectors.
I was looking. I was like, I was paying for tickets.
I didn't even play because it was fun. I was literally.
Which was the easiest game?
I was like
No
tapping
facts.
buttons just to get tickets.
I was looking at Aaron like, kudos to you, bro.
No, man, you want to enjoy the pizza that's there. The mouse is looking at you. That's what I'm there for.
The mouse is creepy.
The mouse
first
is
off.
singing. The mouse is singing
That
at
was
you.
the first AI. Just stare at you, then blinks.
Yo, so Gavin, why'd you bring this up, man? The Bill Gates owns the most farmland in America.
Okay, so that's what
Yeah.
this video is right here. Bill Gates now owns the most farmland in America.
I wonder why.
And here's the thing, man, because over time, that's what's people are gonna need. You don't need the Dragon Ball Z Digimons.
Bro, can I just have my? It's not
Digimon.
Digimon.
Dragon Ball Z Digimon.
Bro.
You don't need
Disrespect.
that.
Oh my
Yo,
god!
Dragon Ball Z Tamagotchi
Oh
looking.
my god.
don't
Dragon Ball Z
need that, man.
Pokemons.
No, instead
Pokemans.
you're gonna want to be learn how soil works, or like controlling the weather.
Yo, I'm telling you right
control
now.
the weather.
When it comes to
You
farming,
control what's better.
people
That's
people
a
are gonna be
bar.
figuring
That's a
out.
bar.
People are gonna be figuring out like vertical farming. Like soil's not gonna be needed anymore.
Vertical
We'll be
farming?
drinking.
What is that?
I'm just talking about like we're stacking tomatoes. on
Hydroponics,
We
bro.
stacking
You
tomatoes.
still need
over
soil
here.
for that.
Hydroponics.
What are you gonna grow in the air?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing. There's
But-
startups
No,
doing
man,
that.
Look at these
Tell 'em.
people spending
Hey,
good.
no lie, this man owns a lot of freaking land. Like in
Yeah, but it's Nebraska.
You can have farmland and Dragon Ball Z Digimons, bro.
Oh, my-
Don't worry.
oh man.
Here's the thing, man. I'm gonna learn different types of grass. I'm gonna learn how to use a rake.
Mind you, this guy did no.
I will pay
Bro.
top dollar to learn how to use a
The-
rake.
the-
I don't know if this farm thing's a good idea.
No,
bro.
Josh. The funny
I
part
will-
is, Aaron's the one talking about farmland, but this guy explained to me his deep phobia of spiders yesterday.
Oh,
Not gonna
my
make
God.
it, bro.
You're walking in the woods and there's two trees next to it.
Not
I'm
gonna make it.
6'5".
This man
Everyone's
ducks.
walking underneath it. I'm just enjoying it because I'm in the back. And I get wrapped around my face and have the thing fall on me. That specific fear is my worst fear.
Ain't no way, boy.
Man.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
It's like walking through a tennis net.
dang.
So that's the thing, man. That's every conversation. I'm thinking to myself, man, I just gotta learn how to plant something.
And then you get some
that'd be
Tesla.
kinda fun.
You get some Tesla bots to tend to your land.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess.
Yes.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
facts.
Tesla bots are gonna be farming.
I don't know
I
how they
mean,
can take the
Farm tech is
elements.
a huge category. Like
Yeah.
in VC, there are VCs that are just focused on farm tech.
For sure. Yeah, if you have like,
because that should be where everyone's focus is.
if you have battery powered like tractors that literally just go out, harvest the crops, bring them back in,
Bro.
sort them.
I'm going
everything
after
that you need.
I'm going after Soylent. All right, I'm gonna be living off of this. In the
Soylent.
future. That's it.
Soy boy.
That's how it was in Interstellar too.
That's muscle milk, bro.
Those tractors in Interstellar, they did that like off of like
Oh, that's right.
magnetic
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop on my tractor,
right?
get some good farming going.
Thanks for tuning in this time.
Yeah, and be careful, man. Be careful out there.
Y'all be careful on these
Y'all
streets,
learn
man.
how to like
Live life.
Shut down a
yeah,
robot.
live off the land.
Lose control.